Welcome back, my fellow Cybertronians, to the next exciting installment of The Ginger Transformer. With you now is me, your host, Mecha Ginge, and we are going to be talking about an unfortunate casualty of the war of the Cybertronians today between the Autobots and Decepticons, the humans. We, in every universe, for some reason, seem to get spanked by these intergalactic space monsters. So today we're going to get into the Generation 1 side of all this, mentioning not only humans and origins, but also humans of import throughout the series and the comic books. And to begin with, in Generation 1, the very first few episodes, the pilot episodes, we meet Spike and Sparkplug Witwicky, two oil workers who just happen to be a victim of Decepticon terrorizing. They turn up at the oil rig and basically say, "We want your oil, give us your oil." This doesn't go well for them because the Autobots intercede, they intervene, and they make new human allies. These two human allies will see you through most of Season 1 and 2, with the addition of a few others along the way. Chip Chase and eventually Carly. But why the Witwickies? Honestly, from the look of it, it just seems to have been blind random luck that they rescued these two who just decided, let's talk to the big scary robots instead of be terrified, rightly so terrified of them, because the first wave of big angry robots came in, started shooting, took your oil. Spike and Bumblebee become fast friends. They're like pretty much best friends throughout all of season 1 and 2. Have one hardly going somewhere without the other. Sparkplug, his dad, who does come to be a little bit more suspicious about the Autobots throughout the seasons. He never turns on them. He always has their back, but he's a little bit more. He's more grown up than Spike. He's lived longer. He's dealt with more stuff in his time, so he takes in the Autobots with a pinch of salt. This is mirrored in the Generation 1 Marvel comics. Spike and Sparkplug are once again the first to meet the Autobots, but Sparkplug is very much against Spike being around Autobots or having anything to do with Autobots after he takes a massive heart attack. Spike and Sparkplug seem to be a staple in nearly every universe. In the IDW universe, you have Spike, you have Sparkplug, but Sparkplug is a general and Spike's part of some special mercenary ops team. They're still there, but they're radically different. Yeah, eventually we get Chip Chase. He's introduced in the first season, though you don't see much of him in the second season. He just kind of phases out. Carly eventually appears, very interested in the Autobots, not really in Spike. The two of them eventually get a few adventures together. They eventually hit it off. And once we see the movie, we don't see Carly in the movie, but Spike has a son called Daniel. And in season 3, yes, it turns out, yes, he did marry Carly. That makes eventually those two are the only ones from the first 2 seasons to continue through the 3rd season. And there are quite a few human characters between seasons 1, 2, 3, 4 and the movie. But once again, I don't think you actually see any new humans. Daniel is the new human in the movie. It's like, who's this guy? Who's pint size here with fishing with Rodimus? And obviously Spike is on the moon, now grown up, but still hanging out with Bumblebee, which I found quite adorable. It's like, it's good to know they just didn't phase that out, you know? We do have a litany of other human characters, both good and bad, who both either help or hinder the Autobots. We have Sean Burger, the failed contestant in a mayoral race that leaves him open and susceptible to Decepticon lies. He is manipulated into thinking the Autobots are the bad guys by Megatron. We also have Raoul. He's in a couple of episodes, mainly tracks-based episodes. He's basically a carjacker at one point who steals the wrong car, Tracks, and he's going to sell him off, but then it turns out, oh no, Tracks uses the whole you'd rather have money than a friend, and for some reason this works on the carjacker, Raoul. He's actually a good kid. Tracks stands up for him, a friendship is kind of set in stone, and he turns up again later on when there's another Decepticon plot in the making, and this time he's got a couple of friends with him who helps out Tracks and Blaster, who's both on this mission to end up fighting Starscream and Soundwave in the club Dancertron brainwashing humans into building something. We never find out what it is, but Raoul was important in both episodes. He basically helped defeat the Decepticons in both episodes. In season 1, we have Dr. Archiville. Is a three-parter where Megatron brings Cybertron to Earth. So if that sounds familiar, yes, it is very, very, very familiar. But getting back to Dr. Archiville he was a mad scientist. He was a bad guy. He aligned very quickly with Megatron to help against the Autobots by creating something called the Hypnochip. This Hypnochip was behind the back of a worker's skull, and it basically controlled them. It was a hypnotizing chip, and eventually, while the Autobots were able to counter this, it turned Sparkplug from a good guy to a bad guy for a while. I mean, there are more in between seasons 1 and 2, but there's a lot of episodes. There's not so many episodes in season 1. There are a lot of episodes in season 2. I mean, at one point, a human woman falls in love with Powerglide. Need I say more? But we end up getting some new characters in season 3. The main new human character works for the EDC, the Earth Defense Command. Her name is Marissa Fairborn, and stars in more than a few episodes, including an episode called Money is Everything, where she has an almost romantic encounter with someone called Dirk Manus. He's a free trader. We also had leader of the sovereign nation of Carbomia, Abdul Fakadi. He was only in a couple of episodes, but it was obviously, I'm pretty sure Sacha Baron Cohen based the Dictator film on this guy from these couple of episodes. Five Faces of Darkness Part 3, I think it was, and Thief in the Night, where Triptychon was stealing statues and colosseums and giving them to Abdul for his sovereign state, just so he can basically just stay on his island, because that's where Octane and Triptychon wanted to stay. He's what the West saw as a evil military dictator back in the time. And quick fact for you, that is why Casey Kasem, the voice of Cliffjumper, that's why he quit after the movie. He thought it was he thought it was kind of racist. As a kid, you don't realise it. When you're an adult, you go, yeah, I can see why I left. Moving over to comics, we have Sparkplug, we have Spike, we don't have Chip Chase, we don't seem to have Carly either. What we do get is Spike now has a brother called Buster, who gets into all sorts of wild adventures with the Transformers. And the brother's never mentioned in Generation 1, but there was a Dreamwave comic tie-in to Generation 1 where one of the generals who's enlisted Spike's help asks about his brother Buster. I think that's as close as we get to any sort of Generation 1 TV comic connection in that one. But between Buster and Spike, not so much Sparkplug because he's had enough of the Transformers after his heart attack. The other two are the main human center points for the Marvel US comics, as long as another character called J.V. Blackrock, Garrison Blackrock, who is basically the Tony Stark of the Transformers universe. He's a philanthropist. He creates new technology. He's got something that Decepticons are very interested in throughout the whole comic run. He has oil and all sorts of other energy-based stuff, and he gets their attention very quickly when Shockwave goes after one of his oil rigs. Eventually, Garrison Blackrock has kind of no choice but to join up with the Autobots. Humans in the comic books instrumental in at least one very big storyline, and that involved the destruction of Unicron. In the Dreamwave comics, we just really have the same people we've always had. Spike, we have Carly, we have Daniel, who's I'd say about 5 years younger than we see him in the Transformers movie, and one of the main characters for that series was a General Halo. He was in charge of a secret division which basically were monitoring Transformers on Earth and any sort of resurgence after we were all shut down. And they need Spike back to reactivate Optimus Prime because they found that the Megatron has been reactivated by a man who's simply naming himself as Lazarus. Lazarus dies pretty early on because he thinks he can control Megatron. That's a no-no. Spike and General Halo survive all the events all the way to the end, where Halo properly loses his mind, takes everyone hostage, launches nukes to it. Secret Service break into the bunker that they're in and kill Halo dead. The second run of Dreamwave, we had no real humans. If I'm honest, a lot of that took place on Cybertron. In the third run, we still don't really see any new humans. We are introduced to Marissa Fairborn, IDW. Oh dear God, here we go. Once again, we have Sparkplug, General Witwicky, and we have Spike, who's like a deep cover operative marine guy. And you're like, wow. Who does go on to end up leading their version of the EDC for a while before, once again, Marissa Fairborn goes into it and ends up running the EDC. We also have Garrison Blackrock, who's once again as a Iron Man. We don't really seem to get any new human characters that ever seem to last. We get a few here and there, but they're either killed off or they leave. A lot of the IDW phase was set on Cybertron with no communication with Earth whatsoever. First humans we actually do meet properly in IDW is Hunter Onion. O apostrophe the rest of Onion. A tech savvy wanderer who just doesn't really seem to ever stay in a place to place to place. They're in several comics after that, but eventually, once again, they meet gruesome deaths. And we do get another group of humans in it. G.I. Joe, that ring a bell? Anyone familiar with G.I. Joe? Well, season 3 also has another good bad guy, Victor Draft. He's a gangster, but he's not really who I want to talk about. It's who he ends up in alliance with. There's a man called Old Snake he ends up in alliance with in that episode against the Autobots to remove them from their big powerful bodies. And it's revealed at the end, back in the day, Old Snake is Cobra Commander, just like 20, 30 years older Cobra Commander. I mean, let us not forget in season 3, we have 2 human scientists and his daughter who start the hate plague. They use it against Transformers. They hate Transformers. You hurt my daughter. No, I was the Decepticons. But yeah, for Generation 1 humans, that's basically all of some who are main staples through every universe, through television, through comics, and some who are just there. I'm not gonna lie, I was just going to go straight onto Maximals and Predacons, but I thought humans deserve a shout out for all the crap we put up with from Transformers. So next time we will be talking about the Nebulans and their impact on the Transformers universe. But until then, keep on trucking, and I will see you next time.